I'm 41, and I've been married to my husband, Darren, for almost 17 years. We have a daughter, Emily, who just turned 19 and is about to head off to college this fall. Or at least, that was the plan before everything fell apart. About a month ago, Emily asked if her best friend, Kelsey, could stay with us for a while. Kelsey's family situation was apparently getting rough. Her mom had moved out, her dad was drinking a lot, and she just needed somewhere safe to stay until she left for school. I've always liked Kelsey. She's sweet, respectful, and practically grew up in our house anyway. So, of course, I said yes. It didn't feel like a big deal at the time. Darren didn't say much about it either. He just nodded and said, "Sure, it's fine," like he always does when he's not really paying attention. I didn't think twice about it. But I wish I had. From the moment Kelsey moved in, the dynamic in our home shifted, and not in any way I could have predicted. It started small. I'd catch Darren glancing at her a little longer than usual when she walked into a room. Kelsey's always been bubbly, a little flirtatious by nature, but I chalked it up to her age. She's 19, she doesn't realize how some things come off. Or maybe I was just trying to convince myself of that because I didn't want to believe anything else. A week into her stay, I walked into the kitchen one night and found them sitting at the table alone. The lights were dimmed, and they were talking quietly, almost conspiratorially. They didn't notice me right away, and the second I cleared my throat, they both jumped like they'd been caught doing something. Darren said they were just chatting about music. I laughed it off, but my gut told me something was off. And then, Darren started changing. He shaved more often, started wearing cologne again, even though he's worked from home for the last 3 years. He started going for evening runs, which he hasn't done since 2017. He also suddenly took a weird interest in Emily's social media, asking if she still had old photos of their friend group from high school. His excuse? Just feeling nostalgic. But here's the kicker, I walked past the guest room door one night and heard them laughing. It wasn't a big deal in itself, but the door was closed. Our rule has always been, no closed doors when guests are over, especially teenagers. But when I asked Darren about it later, he said he had just dropped off some laundry for her and she was showing him a TikTok. Totally innocent, he said. Sure. I didn't want to start a fight over nothing, so I tried to keep things light. I told myself I was imagining it, that I was being insecure, paranoid even. I wanted to believe Darren would never do anything to hurt me. But something happened last night that I can't unsee. And now, I'm not so sure anymore. Last night was supposed to be a normal night. Emily had gone to a sleepover at her cousin's place, so it was just Darren, Kelsey, and me at home. I made dinner, and everything seemed fine. We ate together, nothing weird, just casual conversation about school, work, and movies. But then around 10 p.m., I started feeling off. Not sick exactly, just unsettled. I went upstairs early and decided to do a little cleaning in our bedroom. Darren said he'd finish watching the movie with Kelsey and come up later. I nodded and didn't think much of it at the time. But half an hour went by, then an hour, and he still hadn't come to bed. Something about that didn't sit right with me. So I got up and walked downstairs. Quietly. I wasn't trying to spy, I just wanted to tell him goodnight, maybe remind him it was getting late. I peeked around the corner of the hallway that leads to our living room, and that's when I saw them. Kelsey was curled up on the couch in a blanket, and Darren was sitting way too close to her, close enough that their knees were touching. They were talking softly, like they didn't want anyone to hear. I couldn't catch what they were saying, but I could see the way Kelsey tilted her head, how she smiled up at him with those big, wide eyes. And then he reached over and tucked her hair behind her ear. My whole body froze. It wasn't the gesture itself, it was the look on his face when he did it. That soft, slow expression I hadn't seen him use on me in years. The one he used to have when we were dating. I didn't move. I just stood there in the dark hallway like a ghost, waiting to see what would happen next. A part of me hoped it was innocent. That maybe he'd say something like, "You should get to bed," or "Good night, kiddo." But he didn't. They just kept sitting there, knees brushing, heads tilted toward each other like no one else existed. I finally stepped forward so they could see me. Darren looked up and jumped slightly. Kelsey flinched too, like I'd caught them doing something more than just talking. He muttered something about not realizing how late it had gotten, then practically ran to shut off the TV. Kelsey mumbled goodnight and disappeared upstairs without even looking at me. I didn't say a word. I just stared at Darren as he fumbled for excuses. He said they were just watching something and lost track of time. But he didn't meet my eyes once. Not once. That's when I realized something had shifted between them. It wasn't just in my head anymore. And suddenly, Everything started to replay in my mind, the running, the cologne, the glances. How Kelsey giggles around him. How he lights up in a way he hasn't around me in years. All of it felt like little breadcrumbs I'd ignored, hoping they'd lead nowhere. But now I'm scared they're leading somewhere I'm not ready to face. I didn't sleep last night. This morning, I told Emily I wanted to talk to her later, just the two of us. She agreed without asking questions, but I saw her give me a strange look, like maybe she senses something's going on too. And Darren? He left the house before 8 a.m., said he had to get out for a bit. No mention of where he was going. No goodbye kiss. Not even a see you later. I think I know what's happening. But I don't want to believe it. Not yet. Darren didn't come home until late that night. I didn't ask where he'd been. I didn't need to. He walked in quietly, like he was hoping I'd already be asleep. But I wasn't. I was sitting in the dark kitchen, pretending to scroll through my phone, listening for the sound of the door. When he saw me, he flinched like I'd caught him doing something again. He said, "Hey," barely above a whisper, then walked past me like I wasn't even there. He didn't ask how my day was. He didn't say a word about where he'd been. He just went upstairs and closed the bedroom door. I didn't follow him. Instead, I found myself standing at the bottom of the stairs, heart pounding, mind racing. My chest felt tight, like something invisible was pressing down on me. And it hit me, this wasn't just some silly suspicion anymore. Something was happening. Something I wasn't supposed to see. The next morning, I tried talking to Emily. I waited until Kelsey left for her part-time shift at the bookstore, then asked Emily to sit with me in the living room. I didn't dive into it right away. I just asked how she was doing, how she felt about Kelsey staying with us, if everything felt okay. She gave me a strange look and said she was fine. But then she paused, like she was thinking through her answer a little too carefully. She asked if this was about that weird vibe lately. I didn't expect her to say that. I asked her what she meant. She hesitated, then shrugged. Said she didn't want to stir anything, but she'd noticed Darren acting off. She'd walked in on him and Kelsey in the garage 2 days ago and said they jumped like they were caught hiding something. According to Emily, Kelsey was holding Darren's phone, and he snatched it back quickly and said he was just showing her something. That didn't sit right with her. And it definitely didn't sit right with me. Emily said she hadn't told me because she didn't want to make drama out of nothing, but she's glad I brought it up. She ended the conversation with, I think you should trust your instincts." That sentence hasn't stopped echoing in my head. After she went back to her room, I did something I'm not proud of. I waited until Darren was out of the house again. He said he was meeting an old coworker for lunch, and I went into his home office. His laptop was open on the desk, and to my surprise, it wasn't password protected. He'd always been careless about that kind of thing, assuming no one would snoop. But today? I did. And what I found made my stomach turn. There were messages. A lot of them. Most were just normal conversations with coworkers or friends, but then I found a folder buried in his email drafts. Inside were several unsent messages, all with no subject line. They were written to Kelsey. They weren't graphic, but they weren't innocent either. Things like, "I don't know what this means, but I can't stop thinking about last night," or "You're not a kid anymore, and it scares me how much that matters." I couldn't breathe. There were at least 5 messages like that. All unsent, but all clearly written in moments of something. Weakness? Guilt? Lust? I don't even know what to call it. And suddenly it all made sense. The way he looks at her. The sudden attention to his appearance. The closed-door conversations. The night on the couch. Something had already happened. Or was about to. And I was watching it all unfold like I wasn't even real. I spent the rest of that afternoon just staring at the screen. Not clicking anything. Not breathing. Just staring. Every word in those unsent drafts was like a punch to the chest. They weren't detailed, but they didn't need to be. There was weight behind every sentence. Emotion. Hesitation. Want. The kind of things a husband shouldn't be writing to a teenager. I didn't confront him. Not yet. I couldn't. Instead, I copied the emails, screenshotted them, sent them to myself, then deleted my tracks. I felt disgusting doing it, but I also knew I couldn't unknow what I'd seen. If things escalated, if he denied it, I needed proof. I closed the laptop and went upstairs to wash my face, trying to scrub the nausea out of my skin. It didn't work. That night, Darren came home a little earlier than usual. He was in a good mood, too good. He kissed me on the cheek, made a dumb joke about dinner, and asked if I wanted to go out for ice cream. Ice cream. Like we were teenagers in love, not a married couple quietly falling apart. I told him I wasn't feeling well, and he shrugged like it was nothing. Then he asked if it'd be okay if he and Kelsey went instead. Said she'd had a long shift at the bookstore and mentioned craving something sweet. I swear I felt something snap inside me. But I didn't show it. I told him, sure, and walked upstairs without another word. From the bedroom window, I watched them leave. She practically skipped to the car. He opened the passenger door for her like he was on a date. They didn't come back for almost 2 hours. When they finally got home, they were giggling. I didn't hear the details, just the muffled sound of them talking and laughing like they had their own little world. Like I didn't even exist. I laid in bed that night, listening to the sound of Darren's shower running, and I imagined the water washing away whatever guilt he might have felt. If he felt any at all. It's strange how silence becomes loud once you suspect something. Every laugh, every whisper, every door closing quietly, it all sounds like betrayal. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw open the door and demand the truth. But something stopped me. It was Emily. Because if this was what I feared it was, I didn't want her to find out by accident. I had to figure out what to do next. And fast. The next morning, I woke up before anyone else. The house was still, the kind of quiet that feels heavier than it should. I made coffee I didn't drink and stared out the kitchen window for almost an hour, trying to calm the storm building in my chest. I needed clarity. A plan. Something to hold on to. But the truth was, I had no idea what I was supposed to do. I knew what I saw. I knew what I read. But I still had no solid proof that anything physical had happened. It was all suggestions, drafts, gestures. Intimacy hidden in plain sight. I needed something undeniable. So I did something I never thought I'd do. I installed a small recording app on Darren's tablet. He rarely used it, but he kept it on his nightstand. He sometimes watched YouTube on it before bed. It was easy to hide the app. It ran silently, recording audio, uploading to the cloud folder I had access to. I felt sick doing it. But at this point, I was desperate for the truth. That same day, Emily left again to visit her cousin for the weekend. She asked if Kelsey could tag along, but Kelsey claimed she had to work. At first I thought maybe it was a good thing, that with Emily gone, I could finally get a moment alone with Kelsey, figure out what she knew, or how much she was actually involved in all this. But Darren ruined that plan before it started. He suggested the two of them go out for dinner. Just to give her something fun to do, he said. He claimed he felt bad that she had to miss the trip, said she deserved to unwind. He was careful with his words, but his eyes gave him away. They lit up when he said her name. And when I asked if I could join them? He hesitated. Just a blink too long. Then he said, if you're not feeling well, maybe just rest tonight. That was all I needed to hear. They left together around 6:30. I sat in the dark living room with the lights off, listening to the car pull away, praying they'd slip up. That they'd say something in private, something real. Something I could finally use to break this open. At midnight, the audio uploaded. I locked myself in the bathroom, sat on the floor with my headphones in, and hit play. It started with background noise, car keys, rustling, doors closing. Then his voice, quiet, nervous. He told her she looked beautiful. That he hadn't been able to stop thinking about her all week. And she giggled. She said something about how wrong it felt, but her tone wasn't serious. It was flirtatious. She was playing with him, testing him. And then Darren said the thing that made my hands go cold. He told her, I don't care anymore. I want this. I want you. That was it. The confirmation I'd been dreading. I stopped the recording there. I couldn't take another second. I felt like I was going to throw up. My skin crawled, my vision blurred. I was holding a secret so vile I didn't even know what to do with it. My husband. And my daughter's best friend. And now. I had proof. I didn't sleep at all that night. I kept replaying those words over and over again in my head, as if hearing them enough times would dull the shock. But it didn't. I laid in bed staring at the ceiling, wondering how I was supposed to look either of them in the face again without completely unraveling. By the time the sun came up, I knew one thing: I couldn't keep this to myself any longer. But I also couldn't confront them, not yet. I had to be smarter. If Darren was really going down this path, I needed to get ahead of it. For Emily. For myself. I wasn't going to be blindsided again. So I made an appointment with a lawyer. I didn't tell Darren where I was going. I told him I needed groceries and walked out the door like it was any other morning. Meanwhile, my hands were shaking the entire drive across town. I'd never been inside a divorce attorney's office before. Never even thought I'd need to. The meeting lasted an hour. I showed her the recordings, the screenshots, and everything I'd gathered. She didn't flinch. Just nodded and told me quietly, "You've already done more than most people would." She explained what my options were. Divorce was on the table, obviously, but she also warned me about the house. It was still in both our names. If I left without documenting everything, Darren could spin this into something it wasn't. Especially with Kelsey's age, just barely legal, but still close enough to make things uncomfortable if people started talking. And people would talk. The lawyer told me to wait. Gather more. Secure my finances. Play it smart. Act normal. So that's what I did. I went home and kissed Darren on the cheek. Smiled when he asked if I got everything I needed at the store. Pretended to scroll through my phone while he laughed with Kelsey in the kitchen. I didn't eat dinner. I just picked at my plate while they carried on like nothing was wrong. Like my marriage wasn't rotting from the inside out right in front of me. Later that night, I heard him knock on Kelsey's door. He didn't go in. He stood there for a while, whispered something I couldn't catch. Then her door opened. Just a crack. Enough for his hand to slip in and rest on the side of her neck for a second. Then it closed again. I stood at the top of the stairs, watching it all happen. He didn't see me. But Kelsey did. Her eyes locked with mine just before she shut the door. And she smiled. That smile haunts me. It wasn't nervous or apologetic. It wasn't the look of a girl caught in something she didn't understand. It was deliberate. Calculated. Like she was saying, "You're too late." I didn't sleep again that night. My heart wouldn't slow down. I kept hearing that door creak open, watching her face flash behind my eyes like a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. I was past shock now. Past denial. This wasn't just about betrayal anymore. This was war. The next morning, I called Emily. She'd been planning to stay the weekend, but I told her I needed her home early. I didn't go into detail, just said I needed help with something at the house. She sounded concerned, maybe even suspicious, but agreed to come home that night. With Emily on her way, I started preparing. I backed up all the recordings, transferred every email draft, every screenshot, every piece of evidence onto a secure drive. I hid it where Darren would never find it, somewhere even I wouldn't think to look unless I was desperate. Then I printed out one of the email drafts, the one where Darren wrote, "I can't stop thinking about last night." I placed it in an envelope and slid it into the drawer of my nightstand. Just in case. At lunch, Darren acted like everything was fine. He asked what I was doing later, said we should all watch a movie together tonight. Said we, as if we were still a we. But Kelsey wasn't downstairs. She never came down for breakfast. Or lunch. Darren kept glancing upstairs like he was checking if the coast was clear, but said she was just tired from work. By 4 p.m., Emily was home. She hugged me tight, tighter than usual. She looked around like she was waiting for something to jump out at her. I asked her to sit with me in the living room and told her I had something serious to talk about. Her eyes widened. She nodded slowly, bracing herself. And I told her. Not everything. Not the recordings. Not the kiss or the email or the late-night whispering. I just told her I thought something was going on between Darren and Kelsey. That I wasn't sure yet. That I didn't want to believe it. She stared at me for a long time without speaking. And then, very quietly, she said, "Mom, I think you're right. I wasn't prepared for that." She told me she'd seen them a few days ago, sitting too close in the car when they thought she couldn't see them through the windshield. Kelsey had her hand on Darren's knee. She didn't say anything then because she didn't want to believe it either. I asked her if she thought anything physical had happened. She didn't answer. She didn't need to. After Emily said that, the room just stopped. She didn't cry. Neither did I. We just sat there in this horrible silence, realizing something had been broken in our house for longer than either of us wanted to admit. I wanted to protect her from this, to shield her from whatever Darren and Kelsey had done, but she was already in it. Worse, she was part of it. Kelsey wasn't just some girl. She was her best friend. Emily looked at me, dead in the eyes, and said, "I want her out." I nodded. But when we walked upstairs together to confront them, Kelsey's door was open. Her closet was half empty. A suitcase sat by the edge of the bed, unzipped, filled with clothes. Shoes missing. Makeup gone. She was already packing. It felt like she'd known this was coming all along. Darren wasn't home. And I knew immediately, he wasn't out running errands like he said. He was with her. Probably helping her move. I checked my phone. No missed calls. Just one unread message from him. Might be out late tonight. Kelsey's having a tough day. Don't wait up. My hands were shaking again. But this time, it wasn't fear. It was fury. Emily was pacing behind me, saying how she couldn't believe she ever trusted her. That she'd told Kelsey everything about our family, our problems, our history. And Kelsey used it all. Weaponized it. Walked right into our house and made herself comfortable with the one person she never should have touched. She sat down on the bed and whispered, "I feel so stupid." I told her it wasn't her fault. That Kelsey knew exactly what she was doing. But I could see it on her face, she blamed herself anyway. I left Emily in the room and went into our bedroom, closed the door. And for the first time in days, I cried. Not because I was heartbroken. Not because I was confused. I cried because I was furious. Because they didn't even try to hide it anymore. They thought I wouldn't do anything. That I'd sit there, passive and polite, while they destroyed everything I'd built. But they were wrong. I pulled out the backup drive and made one final copy of everything, just in case. Then I sat on the bed and waited. Darren walked in around 10 p.m. He didn't even look surprised to see me awake. He dropped his keys in the bowl, muttered something about Kelsey being in a rough place, and went to grab a glass of water. I followed him into the kitchen and said 5 words I've never said to him before. "You need to leave. Tonight." He froze with the fridge door still open, like he didn't hear me the first time. Or maybe he was hoping I'd say it again so he could pretend it was some kind of joke. But I didn't repeat myself. I didn't need to. He slowly closed the door, turned to me with this stunned, pitiful look, like I was the one hurting him. Then he said my name. Softly. Like that would undo it all. I didn't let him speak. I told him I knew everything. That I'd seen the emails. That I heard the recording. That I saw the look on Kelsey's face when she shut the door on me with his hand still resting on her neck. He didn't even deny it. Not at first. He just stood there, blinking. Then, like it all clicked at once, he started scrambling, talking fast, saying how it wasn't what it looked like, how nothing really happened, how he'd crossed some lines emotionally but didn't mean to. Didn't mean to. Like she just fell into his arms by accident. Like it was gravity and not months of sneaking glances, late-night conversations, and God knows what else. He said he was confused. I asked him if he was confused when he wrote her those messages. When he whispered to her outside her door. When he tucked her hair behind her ear like he used to do to me when we were first dating. And still, he said nothing. No apology. No shame. Just excuses. Just panic. Then he started blaming her. Said she came on to him. That she flirted first. That maybe she had feelings for him, and he didn't know how to handle it without making things worse. I laughed. I actually laughed. Because that was the moment I knew he wasn't sorry. Not for what he did. Just sorry he got caught. I told him I already talked to a lawyer. That Emily knew. That Kelsey was halfway out of the house already. And that if he didn't leave tonight, I'd make sure every disgusting detail came out during the divorce. That's when his face changed. He stopped trying to act wounded. Stopped pretending to care. He looked at me like I was just some obstacle. A problem to manage. And in that cold, flat voice I used to only hear during fights, he said, "You're making a mistake." I told him the only mistake I ever made was letting someone like him near our daughter's life. And then I turned around and walked upstairs without another word. A few minutes later, I heard the front door close. And just like that, he was gone. He hasn't come back. It's been 3 weeks. At first, I thought maybe he'd try to fight for it. That he'd show up with flowers and apologies and crocodile tears. But no. He didn't even text. Didn't call. The man I built a life with for almost 2 decades disappeared like smoke in the wind the moment he couldn't lie his way out of it anymore. But Kelsey? She wasn't done. A few days after Darren left, she sent Emily a message. Not me, Emily. Just a short, pathetic attempt at redemption. Said she was sorry for the pain she caused and hoped Emily could understand that feelings are complicated. She even had the nerve to say, "I never meant to hurt you or your mom. I didn't plan this." Emily read it once and deleted it without replying. She didn't even hesitate. That made me proud. I still haven't told everyone the full story. Most people just know we're separating. I haven't dragged his name through the mud, haven't posted the screenshots or the recordings. Not because I want to protect him, but because I want peace more than I want revenge. And honestly, that's the one thing he can't touch now. My peace. He moved in with a friend, according to one of his family members who still checks in with me sometimes. I don't care where he is. I don't ask about him. I don't follow Kelsey online. Whatever version of reality they're trying to build now, they can have it. He's not fighting the divorce. Probably because he knows I have more than enough to bury him if he tried. Emily's been healing, slowly. She doesn't talk about Kelsey anymore. I can tell it still hurts her, but she's been spending more time with other friends. We've gone out together a lot these past few weeks as movies, late-night grocery runs, even just coffee on the back porch. It's strange how in the ashes of something so awful, we've found this new closeness. Sometimes healing starts in the places you never thought were broken. I still walk into rooms and expect to see him. I still catch myself reaching for an extra plate when I cook. But then I remember, I'm not mourning him. I'm mourning the version of him I thought I married. And that version never really existed. I'm not angry anymore. Not really. I'm just free. And that feels better than I ever imagined.